All right, guys, welcome back to Gaming Compute. Thanks for tuning in to the podcast today. Another tidbits episode coming at you. So we've got some good news to report here. I'm going to be talking a little bit more about this extra debit card that reports to the credit bureaus. Also about raising credit scores. So now I'm not sure of the exact reasons behind this, but for those of you who may have been following along with my credit building experience and kind of like this experiment that I'm doing with my credit, you might have remembered that I started working on this near a little bit after Cinco de Mayo. So like May 6th, 7th, somewhere around there of 2021. And now as of today, it's November 22nd of 2021. So that's 6 months and 2 to 3 weeks that I've been working on this credit experiment. And my credit score had 2 reports on it this month. So I'm not too comfortable sharing my exact credit score, but I'll just let you guys know that, I'm not free of debt. I have student loans. I was one of those people who got, I wasn't very well educated on, paying your way through college. And then I also got into a professional school where, you pretty much were forced to take out loans, Grad Plus loans, mostly because there was no time to work. I mean, you were doing practicum 20 to 24 hours a week. You had classes that were about like 3 to 4 hours a day, or 3 or 4 hours per class, depending if it was like summer or just a regular term. And it's grad school, so there's a lot of reading, a whole lot of writing. Like, you need all your time, and you're actually working almost part-time as it is, 20 hours, 24 hours or so a week, without really getting paid. I was one of the lucky people who was getting like a $200 a month stipend. And at that time, it covered my gas for the month, which, okay, I'll take it, But I think during that program, I was living off of student loans for like 3 years of it, and it was a really pricey school. So that, I had student loans before that, but the majority of them really came from that 3 years. And then getting into a work field where, I wasn't really getting paid that much anyways, just enough to kind of, build up my work history and kind of make up for some things that kind of happened with my career path, just trying to get things on track with that. And I noticed now I wasn't really too aware and understanding of how to kind of manage my mental health, and that's mostly what kind of impacted my studies. And so that's another chapter of my life. That book has been written. It is now closed. New book, new chapter, right? I've learned from it. I'm past it. I've definitely, I feel like I've mostly recovered from all of the aftermath of that. And it doesn't feel as traumatic as it was at that time, but it's definitely something that comes up when I'm kind of at my worst. It's kind of something that I'm like, oh man, like I screwed that up. But anyways, life goes on, right? Um, so, on a positive note, my credit score has improved. It's increased. According to CreditWise, it's increased 30 something points. So I got my last credit score reported, I want to say near like the 2nd of November. Near the 2nd of November. And that was the first time it increased since maybe, let me see. So June, it increased a few points. I feel like July, it may have increased a couple points. Then I didn't get any increases. August, September, October, and then I got a little bit of a few points increase November, at the beginning of this month, which was from October. That was from the month of October. And now I got more activity on my account showing that it was a plus 31 increase. So I can tell you some things that have kind of happened recently, and you can decide if this is something that you think may have contributed. So I have been using the extra card. It does run me $8 a month. So being 6 months in, times 8, that's $48 I paid for this card, right? So we're 6 months in. I'm trying to see if it's worth it. Is it worth $48? Once I go to 12 months in, that's going to be a whole year's worth of using this card. It's going to be just under $100 that I've spent using the card. Now, I can tell you in the past couple months, I've paid off a couple personal loans that I took out on purpose. So let me see, which loans was I using? I think one company is called Bridge Lending Solutions. The other one was called Spot Loan. Now, these are easier for people to get. I'm not giving you financial advice. I can't say that this is exactly what you should do or what. I'm just talking about my own experiment and experience with the experiment here. I went through a long period of not taking out any loans, and I was only using that extra debit card. And I took out a couple loans pretty recently, and then I paid them off. Now, the reason why I took them out wasn't necessarily because I had no money. I just kind of wanted to have a lot of extra hundreds in my account for a few months. I just wanted it to be there in case some stuff came up where I was going to need to use it. So I was doing some traveling. I wasn't expecting to spend any of this money in October from the travel. I was doing some other projects and things, October, September-ish, mostly October. And then also some stuff in November. So I kind of wanted that money there in case I needed it. I didn't want to wait a couple days to get it. I wanted it there if I needed it. But it would have been, in a way, like a potential method of investing in, like, not stocks or crypto or anything like that, but I was kind of like investing in myself. I was considering this. I wasn't doing it. I was considering investing in myself for a return on that investment on another project I was working on the side that I was deciding if I was going to do that project or not. So I ended up taking out a couple of the loans, not using them, paid one of them back real quick in like a month, in 2 payments time, over 2 payments time. And then another one was a previous loan that I was close to paying off, so I just decided, let me just pay that one off too. So there were two loans that I took out. One of them was previous, and one of them was kind of within the past 2 or 3 months, that I just paid off both of those right away. So I'm thinking that contributed to this situation here where, all of a sudden I saw a couple points gain from October's credit report, and then all of a sudden an additional 31 points. So I can read you what it says on the score improvement. So if you use CreditWise, this score improvement facts or frequently asked questions, it says, how are my score improvement suggestions determined? So it says that your suggestions address the main issues impacting your credit score, ranked in order of impact. They're generated using a combination of the Vantage 3.0 credit scoring model, which is something I need to study, as well the information on your TransUnion credit report. If I follow a suggestion, will it help improve other credit scores too? Practicing great credit habits generally should have a positive effect on all of your credit scores. Each credit score comes from a credit scoring model, such as Vantage or FICO, using information from a credit report. Each scoring model values your credit behavior and information differently, so changing your behavior will have a different level of impact. But while your score might go up a lot and another might go up less, But while one score might go up a lot and another might go up less, generally the change in behavior will lead to similar results. Keep in mind that different credit bureaus generate different credit reports, which is something I need to study as well. And sometimes those reports don't include the same info. For example, let's say your Vantage score uses your TransUnion report, which lists your car loan, but your FICO score could use a different credit bureau's report, which doesn't list your car loan. If your top score suggestion If your top score suggestion says to pay down your car loan, doing so would potentially only help your Vantage score in this scenario. So it's good to know which credit bureaus your credit line or loan is being reported to. And so a lot of this information, you can probably get it when you're talking to the representatives applying for this loan or whatever credit line it is, or you have to dig and study and read the information. How often do these suggestions change? Your suggestions get updated each week along with your credit score, but they could stay the same if there aren't any significant changes to your credit report. Either way, it's a good idea to check your suggestions each time you sign in. So every time you check your bank, if you have CreditWise linked, like I do to my Capital One 360, you can check it and see if anything's changed. Now, so I'm not going to read this whole thing, but one thing that I do find a little difficult about CreditWise is that it's good, it's convenient, it's right there, you just click it, but I feel like it's a little bit challenging to navigate. It has these buttons at the bottom, and sometimes I'm like, I click on something and then I can't find where it is the next time. So and I do think things disappear, because I feel like when I first clicked on my credit, I I first got an email from Experian or something like that. That's like your credit score has improved or something or gone up. And I tried to log into that, and I don't have my login. I thought I canceled that actually, but whatever. And then so I was like, well, let me just check what CreditWise says. And I went on there, and all of a sudden it just like showed, when it buffered and like updated, it showed that there was the 31 point increase all of a sudden for this month. So I'm like, what's going on? Like, it's not even December yet. It's still November. Usually I see the improvements by the by the beginning of the next month. I've been seeing those little improvements. So I feel like I haven't studied this out, but I feel like the little few point increases have been from the extra card, and then the loan payoffs have been because the loan payoffs led to the 31 point increase. That's what I'm feeling has happened. Now, I mentioned those loans. You can check them out if you want to study to see where they report to and how that could potentially improve your score, or if possible. And I would recommend talking to those sites if you want to know that information. Now, these are super high interest loans. Like I said, I wasn't using the money because I needed it. I already had the money to pay it back. And so the terrible part about using those kind of loans is that you're basically losing money. You're losing money on them. So it's like, if you take out a loan for, say, $600, $700, somewhere along that line, you may have a monthly, fee. Like, you may be paying twice a month, $170 twice a month. So if you don't pay that thing off right away, then within it only takes 2 to 3 months, and you've already almost, the interest you're paying twice a month is already kind of the amount of the loan. So if you are going to take these kind of loans, don't take them out for emergencies necessarily. Don't take them all out if you feel like, okay, I just want to splurge and party and travel, and next thing you know, you spent all the money. I mean, the only time not now. I've used these loans in the past to pay rent, pay bills. We get in situations sometimes. This was in my past, when I was not trying to repair anything or learn about finances or anything. Like I mentioned, in the past few years, I've really been trying to study and get better and learn and practice better habits, especially since my stress levels of my job and everything, my lifestyle now is a lot less stressful. That contributed before, the high levels of stress before definitely contributed to my spending. Like I've mentioned, there were times where I literally just didn't check my accounts because I was like, I'm too stressed to care. It doesn't matter how much money I do or don't have. I'm going to spend whatever I'm going to spend just because I just want to. It was kind of like what I did is just spend, and that was a time in my life. This is not now. But when I started studying finance and getting kind of understanding more about how you can actually improve, how you can actually change, how you can actually see the results of your labor and being frugal and planning, just like you would plan to take a trip. Okay, I'm going to spend a little less this week because I need the money for the gas. Okay, I'm going to spend a little less this week because I need the money for that. You can do the same thing with your finances. I'm going to spend a little less this week because I'm trying to pay off this thing. Or I'm going to spend a little less this week because I'm working on this new finance related part. Maybe it's an investment that you have that you're looking into, or something like that you're looking into something that's going to help you. But like I've mentioned, I mostly use these potentially for if I need capital and I'm like, okay, I want to invest in this project and I need the money to do it. Now I know it is better to use your own money, save your own money, use your own funds, but it's also part of a project I'm working on too. It's part of my studying project. So there is debt attached to this, but I feel like it's kind of dumb to say. Almost any hobby I have, might have some form of debt attached to it. Like, for example, I was working out for the last month, trying to train for snowboard season. Little did I know, I'd still be going to the beach in late November. But it hasn't snowed anywhere near me in Southern California. But literally it was like 80 degrees today, and we were at the beach a couple weekends ago on Veterans Weekend, and at the beach this weekend, and gonna be at the beach tomorrow after work, and it's gonna be like a night bonfire thing, and like, yeah, we're not snowboarding yet. But with that season comes a lot of expenses for me, because it's not free. Even if I buy a season's pass, that's already paid for. That does cost money, and then I still have to pay for the gas to get up there. It's like 100 miles away or so one way. So that's not free. But when I'm home, I'm like, well, if I'm not going anywhere or doing anything, I have extra money. So that's why I do these kinds of projects, because I'm like, well, I'm going to spend the money on something anyways. So I might as well spend it on a learning process, but with the goal to have a return on the investment, and pay back the money as fast as possible. Now, is there risk involved with that? Yes. Is it stupid? I think it's stupid, but I figure if I'm going to be spending money, kind of blowing money on snowboarding anyways, this time of year, which is usually what I would be doing close to this time of year, would be buying like seasons passes and new gear and stuff. It's like, well, I'm not doing that yet, because I don't even see a cloud in the sky. So I'm not trying to like dish out if we're still going to the beach. I mean, it is a little chilly at night. It gets down to the 50s, but if it's in the 80s in the day, and then the local mountains are making snow, like, we're not going anywhere, guys. I'm not going anywhere soon. So I'd rather just play around a couple weeks at a time, a couple months at a time. But it does take a lot of focus and self-denial, and not just being like, ooh, I saw something else I want to buy. It's like, no, focus. And it helps to keep the money in a separate account. Now I keep the funds in an account that I don't use. It's not attached to my regular daily spending. The debit card that I have for that account, I don't even keep it on me. I mean, I have it with me, but it's not like in my wallet. So I'm not like, enticed to like use that money to spend. I just take it and move it to that account, and that's how it is. But I'm trying to get to a point where I can get business credit. But I also need to raise my credit score. So, okay, so the impactful suggestions for score improvement for myself, it starts talking about the balance of loans. So if you have a high balance of loans, compared to either your credit limit or what you usually would have borrowed, that's going to really impact you, is the high balance on your loans. So you'd want to pay that off. Like making larger payments, or at least making the payments on time at the very least. But I think making larger payments and then paying them off helps. Another impact on credit can be, having really old accounts. So credit-wise tells you what the breakdown is of an old account, kind of what is expected as like an average line of credit, and then what is, old enough for it to be above average versus below average versus not good, The only way you really can do is to keep old accounts and manage them very well. Also, not missing payments. Um, if you, so CreditWise tells you which accounts aren't being paid or are being paid or are being paid on time. It just totally breaks it down for you. So if you notice that you have an account, and if you can get it caught up or at least get on a plan to start paying it, even if it's like, I've talked to companies in the past where I was like, can I just pay you $40, $20, $25? Usually they want you to pay more than what you ask, but sometimes they'll take any money. So say if you want to pay $40, you can ask them something like, can I just pay 25? And they'll be like, it's too low. We need you to pay at least 40, 45. But if that's what you were shooting for anyways, it's like, okay. So usually you want to lowball them, because then they'll usually say, no, you need to pay a little bit more than that. So I'm not saying like pay like $20 on things, but I mean, if it's going to help at least keep something, on a plan, if you can kind of get like a new contract with them, even about the $20 payments, or if you're really, 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 really behind, like if you've gotten into like a payday loan habit and things like that, installment loans, that kind of thing, looking out, like, if you're not even paying on something, every now and then they might send you an email that's like, if you can just call us and make a plan to make these 5 payments in these chunks of money on these dates, then, we'll keep your account in good standing or whatever, and usually it's at such a reduced rate. So that's kind of like one of their last attempts to just like, oh, please pay us something before it starts going into collections. Usually, they're going to try to get all their money, and they're going to work with you a little bit, and they even give you a discount. So say if you had a loan for like $3,000, they might be like, we only really want you to pay like 1,000, like maybe we only want you to pay like 1,800 of like the 3,000. And it's like, that's a little more than 50%, but still, that's a huge difference. And if you make all those payments, you might have just saved yourself a whole lot of money on those payments. I mean, if they're taking your money anyways, they've already made their money back. But if they're not taking your money and they can't get into your account, they might do something like that. So yeah, definitely missing payments doesn't help. Paying late doesn't help, but communicating with the companies can really help you, to at least get on some kind of plan that kind of works, so that you can actually keep paying. And if you literally can't pay, I mean, sometimes if you don't do this all the time, just like with banks, sometimes they'll just waive the service fee and be like, like, yeah, you don't have to pay the over withdrawal fee or whatever. Like, sometimes they'll just be like, whatever, if you just do it like once. Same with sometimes with, if you have like loan payments or credit payments, just be like, hey, I really can't pay it, and just trying your best to use that time that they give you to kind of like either pay in a few days or pay next month or whatever it is. Just trying your best to kind of like keep track of your own funds to get to a place where you can pay it. That really helps. But trying not to be overdue definitely helps. And you can also be proactive about it. If you think you're going to be late on something, you can talk to the company sometimes. No, I'm not saying it's going to work 100%, and I'm not saying you should depend on doing this, but I mean, it's kind of like, if you're going to risk having some kind of a derogatory remark or some kind of like, something that's going to set you backwards a little bit, you might as well try to see if they'll work with you. Because a lot of times, these companies are making so much money anyways. It's like, what's a couple days? What's 30 days for them if they know they're still going to get their money, and they'll just maybe push the extra last payment like off to like one further month. Like, and if you're in good standing with them, you might be able to once, maybe twice, or you might even be able to get to a place where you can write a letter of some sort. Like, I remember during COVID, during not that it's over, but, you know, during the deeper parts of it, you were able to call places sometimes and they would kind of waive, if your job maybe wasn't paying as much, or if you're having financial issues, some places would literally just be like, okay, like, we'll waive it for you, or like, just, you'd have to talk to them, so just keeping the communication open and not just like ignoring it and then just like, or waiting till it's too late. Like, if you tell them early, they might be able to do something without a late fee, or give you some wiggle room. And I'd say always just kind of be honest. Just be like, hey, I had to go do this thing, and then the hotel didn't give me back my, I had to go on a trip and I miscalculated, and the hotel didn't give me back my my deposit early enough, and so I'm gonna be late on this payment because I was depending on that $300 deposit or whatever it was, like something like that. So yeah, just trying to stay away from late stuff. They mentioned managing real estate, so getting a mortgage, things like that. And no, I don't have a mortgage, but I've heard of people getting Airbnbs and stuff like that, because they can make money off of it. So yeah, those are just some pieces of info for this tidbits episode. I just got from done exercising and having dinner with somebody, so I'm kind of tired. Worked all day and just did that right after, so I just wanted to put a recording out there with my newer info, just for those of you who might be interested in that. That's kind of what I got going on right now. Just little updates for the projects that you guys know I kind of do my little experiments with. So hopefully that was helpful. And I don't know what you guys think. I'm not sure if it's the extra card. I'm not sure if it's the loan payoffs. I really don't know. But I am going to have to study some of this stuff about like who reports to what and how that looks. And yeah, just study some more of this info to try to see kind of where all of this good info, where all these good updates are kind of coming from. But all right, guys, thanks for listening.